Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. This is Kashif Abbas Zaidi, lecturer at Jamia Millia Government College of Education, Maleer, Karachi. I welcome all of you in this online class. Especially, I welcome all the students of B.Ed Honors. In this English class, inshallah, we will discuss on effective communication. By the end of this lesson, I hope that students would be able to define communication, differentiate verbal and non-verbal communication, describe components of communication, identify common barriers in communication, explain effective communication skills. So let's start our topic, effective communication. First of all, if I ask you that what is communication, what comes in your mind? When we see the definition in dictionary, we see that communication is a noun and communication is the activity or process of expressing ideas and feelings or of giving people information. In simple words, we can say that communication refers to two-way process of conveying information, ideas, feelings, or opinion between two or more persons, either verbally or non-verbally, using a medium. Main types of communication. There are two main types of communication. One is verbal communication and second one is non-verbal communication. Verbal communication. When messages or information is exchanged or communicated through words is called verbal communication. Verbal communication may be two types, written and oral communication. Verbal communication takes place through face-to-face conversation, group discussions, counseling, interview, radio, television calls, memos, letters, reports, notes, emails. Now, when we see the definitions of verbal communication, we see that according to Bowlby, verbal communication is the expression of information through language, which is composed of words and grammars. According to Penrose, verbal communication consists of sharing thoughts through meaning of words. So, verbal communication is the process of exchange of information or message between two or more persons through written or oral words. Now, what is non-verbal communication? Let's see. When messages or information is exchanged or communicated without using any spoken or written words is known as non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is usually understood as the process of communication through sending and receiving wordless messages. Much of non-verbal communication is unintentional. People are not even aware that they are sending messages. Non-verbal communication takes place through gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, physical proximity, and touching, etc. Definition of non-verbal communication. According to Laziker and Petit, non-verbal communication means all communication that occurs without words, means body movement, space, time, touch, voice patterns, color, layout, design of surroundings. And according to Himstreet and Beatty, nonverbal communication includes any communication occurring without the use of words. So, nonverbal communication is the exchange of information or message between two or more persons through gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, proximity, touching, etc., and without using any spoken or written word. In this diagram, you can see verbal and nonverbal communication. In verbal communication, there are two types, oral and written. In oral, there are two types, speaking and listening. In written, there are two types, writing and reading. While in nonverbal communication, as we have discussed that there are different things we can see: facial expression, gestures, body language, proximity, touch, personal appearance, and silence. All these are nonverbal communication. What is effective communication, which is the main topic of our today's class? Think about ineffective communication and their consequences. Ineffective communication, time may be lost as instructions may be misunderstood and jobs may have to be repeated. Number two, frustration may develop as people are not sure of what to do or how to do a task. Number three, product may be wasted if it is not handled correctly. Number four, people may feel left out if communication is not open and effective. Number five, messages may be misinterpreted or misunderstood, causing bad feelings. And last one, pupils' safety may be at risk. Effective communication is about more than just exchanging information. It is about understanding the emotion and intentions behind the information, as well as being able to clearly convey a message. You need to also listen in a way that gains the full meaning of what's being said and makes the other person feel heard and understood. Effective communication sounds like it should be instinctive, but all too often, when we try to communicate with others, something goes astray. We say one thing, the other person hears something else, and misunderstandings, frustration, and conflicts ensue. This can cause problems in our home, school, and work relationship. Stress and out of control emotion. What's stopping you from communicating effectively? What are the common barriers to effective communication? Common barriers in effective communication, there are many barriers. For example, stress and out of control emotion. When we are stressed or emotionally overwhelmed, we are more likely to misread other people, send confusing or off putting nonverbal signals, and lapse into unhealthy knee jerk patterns of behavior. To avoid conflict and misunderstandings, we can learn how to quickly calm down before continuing a conversation. Lack of focus. We can't communicate effectively when we are multitasking. If we are checking our phone, planning what we are going to say next, or daydreaming, we are almost certain to miss nonverbal cues in the conversation. To communicate effectively, we need to avoid distractions and stay focused. Inconsistent body language. This is another barrier. Nonverbal communication should reinforce what is being said, not it, not contradict it. If we say one thing, but our body language says something else, our listeners will likely feel that we are being dishonest. For example, we can't say yes while we shaking our head no. Negative body language. If we disagree with or dislike what's being said, we might use negative body language to rebuff the other person's message, such as crossing our arms, avoiding eye contact, or tapping our feet. We don't have to agree with or even like what's being said, but to communicate effectively and not put the other person on the defensive, it's important to avoid sending negative signals. Now, what are the components of communication? The act of communication involves verbal, non-verbal, and paraverbal components. So these three components are: number one, the verbal component. The verbal component refers to the content of our message, the choice and arrangement of our words. Second one is the non-verbal component. Non-verbal component refers to the message we send through our body language. And third one is the paraverbal component. The paraverbal component refers to how we say what we say, the tone, pacing, and volume of our voices. In order to communicate effectively, we must use all three components to do two things. Number one, send clear, concise messages. And number two, hear and correctly understand messages someone is sending to us. For many of us, communicating more clearly and effectively requires learning some important skills. Whether we are trying to improve communication with our spouse, kids, boss, or co-workers, learning these skills can deepen our connections to others, build greater trust and respect, and improve teamwork, problem solving, and our overall social and emotional health. Now we will talk about effective communication skills. There are few effective communication skills. Number one is become an engaged listener. This is very important skill. Become an engaged listener. When communicating with others, we often focus on what we should say. However, effective communication is less about talking and more about listening. Listening well means not just understanding the words or the information being communicated, but also understanding the emotions the speaker is trying to convey. When we are an engaged listener, not only will we better understand the other person, we will also make that person feel heard and understood, which can help build a stronger, deeper connection between us. Now, there are some tips for becoming an engaged listener. Number one is focus fully on the speaker. We can't listen in an engaged way if we are constantly checking our phone or thinking about something else. If we find it hard to concentrate on some speakers, try repeating their words over in our head. It will reinforce their message and help us stay focused. Second is favor your right ear. Now, as strange as it sounds, the left side of the brain contains the primary processing centers for both speech comprehension and emotions. Favor our right ear can help us better detect the emotional nonsense of what someone is saying. Avoid interrupting or trying to redirect the conversation to our concerns. We can't concentrate on what someone's saying if we are forming what we are going to say next. Often, the speaker can read our facial expressions and know that our minds elsewhere. Show your interest in what's being said. Nod occasionally, smile at the person, and make sure our posture is open and inviting. Encourage the speaker to continue with small verbal comments like yes or hmm. Try to set aside judgment. In order to communicate effectively with someone, we don't have to like them or agree with their ideas, values, or opinions. However, we do need to set aside our judgment and withhold blame and criticism in order to fully understand them. Provide feedback. Now, in order to become an engaged listener, if there seems to be disconnect, reflect what has been said by paraphrasing. For example, what I'm hearing is or sounds like you are saying are great ways to reflect back. Ask questions to clarify certain points. What do you mean when you say or is this what you mean? Hear the emotion behind the words. It is high frequencies of human speech that impart emotion. We can become more attuned to these frequencies and thus better able to understand what others are really saying. Second skill, pay attention to nonverbal signals. This is also very important. The way we look, listen, move, and react to another person tells them more about how we are feeling that words alone ever can. Nonverbal communication or body language includes facial expressions, body movement, and gestures, eye contact, postures, the tone of our voice, and even our muscle tension and breathing. We can enhance effective communication by using open body language, arms uncrossed, standing with an open stance, or sitting on the edge of our seat and maintaining eye contact with the person we are talking to. Now, how can improve how we read nonverbal communication? Number one is be aware of individual differences. People from different countries and cultures tend to use different nonverbal communication gestures. So, it is important to take age, culture, religion, gender, and emotional state into account when reading body language signals. Number two, look at nonverbal communication signals as a group. Don't read too much into single gesture or nonverbal cue. Consider all of the nonverbal signals we receive, from eye contact to tone of voice of body language. Now, improve how we deliver nonverbal communication. Number one, use nonverbal signals that match up with our words. Rather than contradict them, if we say one thing but our body language saying something else, our listeners will feel confused or upset that we are being dishonest. For example, sitting with our arms crossed and shaking our head does not match words telling the other person that we agree with what they are saying. Adjust your nonverbal signals according to the context. The tone of our voice, for example, should be different when we are addressing a child than we are addressing a group of adults. Similarly, take into account the emotional state and cultural background of the person we are interacting with. Avoid negative body language. We can use positive body language to signal confidence, even though we are not feeling it. Instead of tentatively entering a room with our head down, eyes averted, and sliding into a chair, try standing tall with our shoulders back, smiling, and maintaining eye contact, and delivering a firm handshake. It will make us feel more self confidence and help to put the other person at ease. The third skill is keep stress in check. How many times have we felt stressed during a disagreement with our spouse, kids, spouse, friends, or co workers, and then said or done something we later regretted? If we can quickly relieve stress and return to a calm state, we will not only avoid such regrets, but in many cases, we will also help to calm the other person as well. It is only when we are in a calm, relaxed state that we will be able to know whether the situation requires a response or whether the other person's signal indicate it would be better to remain silent. In situations such as a job interview, business presentations, or high pressure meetings, for example, it is important to manage our emotions, think on your feet, and effectively communicate under pressure. Communicate effectively by staying calm under pressure. Now, what else we can use? Use stalling stances. Use stalling techniques. Use stalling tactics to give ourselves time to think. Ask for a question to be repeated or for clarification of a statement before we respond. Pause to collect your thoughts. Silence is not necessarily a bad thing. Pausing can make us seem more in control than rushing our response. Make one point and provide an example of supporting piece of information. If our response is too long or we waffle about a number of points, we risk losing the listener's interest. Follow one point with an example and then gauge the listener's reaction to tell if we should make a second point. Deliver your words clearly. In many cases, how we say something can be as important as what we say. Speak clearly, maintain an even tone, and make eye contact. Keep our body language relaxed and open. Wrap up with a summary and then stop. Summarize our responses and the stop talking. Even if it leaves a silence in the room, we don't have to fill the silence by continuing to talk. Quick stress relief for effective communication. When a conversation starts to get heated, we need something quick and immediate to bring down the emotional intensity. By learning to quick reduce stress in the moment, we can safely take stock of any strong emotions we are experiencing, regulate our feelings, and behave appropriately. Recognize when you are becoming stressed. Take a moment to calm down. Our body will let us know if we stressed as we communicate. Are our muscles or stomach tight? Are our hands clenched? Is our breath shallow? Are we forgotten or breathe? Take a moment to calm down before deciding to continue conversation or postpone it. Bring your senses to the rescue. The best way to rapidly and reliably relieve stress in thought, the sense, sight, sound, touch, taste, smell, or movement. For example, we could pop a peppermint in our mouth, squeeze a stress ball in our pocket, take a few deep breaths, clench and relax our muscles, or simply recall a shooting sensory rich imagery. Each person responds differently to sensory input, so we need to find a coping mechanism that is soothing to us. Look for humor in the situation. When used appropriately, humor is a great way to relieve stress when communicating. When our or those around us start talking things too seriously, find a way to lighten the mood by sharing a joke or an amusing story. Be willing to compromise. Sometimes, if we can both bend a little, we will be able to find a happy middle ground that reduces the stress level for everyone concerned. If we realize that the other person cares much more about an issue than we do, compromise may be easier for us and a good investment for the future for the relationship. Agree to disagree if necessary and take time away from the situation so everyone can calm down. Go for a stroll outside if possible, or spend a few minutes mediating. Physical movement or finding a quiet place to regain our balance can quickly reduce stress. Skill number 4, assert yourself. Direct assertive expression makes for clear communication and can help boost our self esteem and decision making skills. Being assertive means expressing our thoughts, feelings, and needs in an open and honest way, while standing up for ourselves and respecting others. It does not mean being hostile, aggressive, or demanding. Effective communication is always about understanding the other person, not about winning an argument or forcing our opinion on others. Now, to improve your assertiveness, we can value yourself and your options. They are as important as anyone else. Know your needs and wants. Learn to express them without infringing on the rights of others. Express negative thoughts in positive way. It's okay to be angry, but we must remain respectful as well. Receive feedback positively. Accept compliments graciously. Learn from our mistakes. Ask for help when needed. Learn to say no. Know our limits and don't let others take advantages of us. Look for alternatives so everyone feels good about the outcome. Developing assertive communication techniques. Empathetic assertion. Empathetic assertion means convey sensitively to the other person. First, recognize the other person's situations or feelings, then state our needs or opinion. I know you have been very busy at work, but I want you to make time for us as well. This is an example. Second one is escalating assertion. Now, escalating assertion can be employed when our first attempts are not successful. We become increasingly firm as time progresses, which may include outlining consequences if our needs are not met. For example, if you don't abide by the contract, I will be forced to pursue legal action. This was an example. The last one is practice assertiveness. In low risk situations, to help build up our confidence, or ask friends or family if we can practice assertiveness techniques on them first. So students, this was our lesson. I hope that this is your assignment, and I hope that you will complete this assignment. Complete any two written communicative tasks from the following and submit to me through email on this address by 22nd of April 2020. There are three options and you may pick any two of them. Number one, you are planning to attend an education seminar in another city. Write a brief note to the principal to persuade her to allow you to take a week off from college to attend. Second option is you are a teacher, your class is going on a picnic. Write a note to inform parents. And third option is you are a hotel manager. You need to tell guests what to do in the event of an emergency. Write a brief set of instructions to explain. That's it.